Welcome back to the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That is Gonzo. I am Shoob, and today we are here to do Week 12 picks. Let's go. Another week of predictions is upon us. Last week was another great week, man. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We are Zanless here tonight, so he is not going to be on the podcast with us this week, but he did send in his picks, of course, so we're going to throw out his picks as we go. Gonzo, how you doing, man? You ready to do Week 12 picks?
Dude, I'm great, man. You and I posted 10-0 straight up last week, so I'm hoping to do a little bit better on spreads. But man, I'm amped. Probably my favorite part of college football is the picks.
Seriously, though, it was a great week for us in terms of picking outright winners. You and me both 10-0. Let's go, man. Fist pump, virtual fist pump
Yes,
there.
sir. And
Zan
Zan
went
9 and
9 and
1.
1.
He killed it too.
He did 9-1. It was a great week for us, man. We went combined 29-1 picking outright winners last week. And then on the spread, still positive. I finally had a pretty solid spread week, 7-3 against Vegas last week. So my overall record still isn't looking great, but you two are hanging in there right now. You felt just above
Just under.
positive
Just
on
under.
units. You're still positive in terms of your record, but that 10% hold, that'll get you. Zan's still doing very well against the spread on the season. He's hovering above 500, and of course he's in the positive, so he's profiting, which is pretty good, pretty hard to do. All right, let's try to keep up the good vibes, keep up the good numbers, and try to see if we can go 10-0 2 weeks in a row. Pretty unlikely, but we'll see. Maybe we can do it. Week 12 picks. So starting off on the board here, we got Louisville versus Miami. Louisville is ranked number 9. Again, for those of you who don't know, we are using the AP poll for these rankings because we record on Sunday nights. College football playoff rankings will come out till Tuesday. So we use the updated AP rankings. So just FYI there. Number 9, Louisville is a 1.5 point favorite on the road at Hard Rock against Miami. Miami coming off of a pretty feisty, pretty tough loss last week against Florida State in Tallahassee, where they put up a pretty good fight considering that both their quarterbacks are playing injured. And it was an impressive loss, if you want to put it that way. And then you have Louisville here, man. You got Louisville, who has the opportunity, if they win this game, they will clinch their spot in the ACC title game and play the aforementioned Florida State Seminoles. So what do you got here?
Hey, book that flight to Charlotte. I got Louisville. I think Miami gave it all against FSU, and I think the Cardinals booked their trip and continue what has been an incredible first year of the Brom era.
So Zan, is sent in his picks, and he is also going to take Louisville to win and cover the spread. So with Miami, it's like, are the quarterbacks going to be healthy for this game? How motivated is the team going to be now? You put your heart and soul into that Florida State game, came up on the losing end. Tyler Van Dyke clearly is not playing healthy. Emory Williams got hurt against FSU. Like, is this team going to come out and play at its full healthy strength? I don't think so. I do think this team is capable of beating Louisville. I mean, hell, Vegas is telling you the spread's only a 1.5. So they're telling you this is kind of a coin flip game that can go either way. I'm going to be honest. I can totally see Miami winning this game, but I am going to go with Louisville as well. I think big game Brom shows up here, and motivation and health is a big factor going against the Canes right now. So I'm going to fade them in that regard. But if Miami was fully healthy and ready for this game, I might pick the Canes. But in this case, I'm going to go with the Cardinals to punch their ticket to the ACC title game. All right. Speaking of conference championship races, how about SMU versus Memphis? This one is a big one in the American Conference Championship race. SMU is 6-0 in conference play, and they are rolling alongside UTSA and Tulane, who are both 6-0 as well. And then you have Memphis down there at 5-1 in conference play. It is basically those top 4 teams in the American and then everybody else. And those 4 teams, 2 of them each play each other in the final 2 weeks here. So you have SMU facing Memphis, and then you have UTSA facing Tulane in the final week of the season. So those sort of could be de facto semifinal games for the AAC title game, which is a little interesting. So without further ado, I've laid out the carpet, given you the scenarios, what's on the line here. SMU at Memphis. The Ponies are a 7.5 point favorite.
So I'm going to play the trends here. Memphis is coming off a overtime win versus powerhouse Charlotte. Their last 3 wins have all been single-digit wins. Conversely, SMU has just been housing teams, although Rice did give them a run for their money. So I think I've tipped my hand. I'm going to take SMU both ways. Pony Express.
Pony Express. I mean, SMU did, or I'm sorry, Rice did beat Houston at the beginning of the year. Let's not forget that. That was a really bad loss by Houston. But so Rice, Rice can play up to their opponents.
Rice can slow cook you.
I like that. Yeah, so Zan is going to hedge here. So he's going to take SMU to win, but he's going to take Memphis and the Fighting Marcus Carrolls to cover that 7.5 point spread. 7.5 there. Nice little hook for you if you like betting Memphis. So I'm going to tell you here, Gonzo. I'm going to tell you here. I think SMU just has the better team, and I think they're going to go in here and roll. I think SMU is they got that machine running pretty good right now, and I think they win by 2 touchdowns. I like the Ponies a lot here on that spread. All right. Utah versus Arizona. Now, this game could sort of be seen as a third place or I guess fourth place game maybe for the Pac-12. Potential New Year's Six bowl on the line, but unlikely. It's going to be tough. The Pac-12 is kind of stacked this year at the top. So either way, bowl positioning and potential New Year's Six bowl on the line here with Utah at Arizona. This is a very intriguing game, man. This is a future Big 12 conference matchup next year too. So the Utes are a 1 point favorite going on the road to Tucson. What do you got?
You've talked earlier in the season about your dreams going to die in Arizona if you're a Pac-12 contender. And I've definitely been late to get onto the Arizona hype train. And with that in mind, we're going to bear down. I like Fafita. I think he's better than Barnes. And I think the Wildcats get a nice little signature win here.
Let's go. So Zan is going to differ from you here. He's taking Utah. He is taking Utah, man. I don't think Zan has learned his lesson yet. I do not think he has learned his lesson yet, man.
Put my hand on the stove too many times.
Yep. If you are a Pac-12 contender, your hopes and dreams go to die in Tucson. You already said it. Bear down, baby. Bear down. I will not keep fading University of Arizona. I will not fade them. Bear down, baby. They should be favored. I like Arizona by 3 to 4 points in this matchup. All right. Georgia versus Tennessee. So Tennessee coming off of a beatdown last week at the hands of Missouri where they lost 36-7. A very surprising result, if you're going to ask me. Is there any bounce back in store for Tennessee here? Can they get off the mat after getting wiped by Missouri? They're at home. It's at Neyland. But then you got the Georgia Bulldogs rolling into town. And as we talked about on our Week 11 recap podcast, which if you haven't listened to that, highly recommend you go listen to that. We talked about how Georgia is peaking right now. And I think these are just two teams that are trending in the opposite directions now at the worst time. Yep. Mm-hmm. So what do you got here? Georgia's a 10-point favorite, by the way.
I'll probably be wrong on the spread because it's Georgia, but give me the Bulldogs both ways. I think, like I've been saying, I think they'll constrict Tennessee. And it's going to be a pretty cool environment, but Georgia's just way too talented. And I got them by 2 touchdowns.
Zan is going to go with UGA both ways as well. UGA winning and covering the spread. And I am in agreement. I'm going to take UGA to win the game, and I think they will win this game by at least 2 touchdowns. UGA is rolling. Enough said. I don't think Tennessee just has enough in the tank this year to get it done. Last year's team, I think, definitely had a shot. Georgia completely shut them down last year. They were one of the only teams that could shut down the offense last year and shut down Hendon Hooker. I have no reason to suspect they won't do it again this year, despite the fact that I'm sure Tennessee will have a better game than they did last week. I mean, it's guaranteed Tennessee will play better, but you're playing Georgia. and Georgia's absolutely rolling right now. So UGA both ways. All right, North Carolina versus Clemson. This one is an interesting matchup. North Carolina ranked number 22. Clemson, of course, has been unranked. They've been unranked for most of the year. Kind of weird to see them not with a little number next to their name. Usually used to seeing Clemson ranked, but point is, UNC is the ranked team. Clemson, however, is the favored team, and they're favored by 7.5 points. So again, this is a classic example of why we always say that it's better to look at the Vegas odds to determine your judgment of how teams are versus the rankings, because one team's ranked, one team's not. One team is favored by 7.5 points. That does more of the talking. If you're going to ask me, what do you got here?
I think the road to your under begins with UNC. They were lucky to beat Duke. Let's be realistic. And historically, they have struggled playing Clemson. I think Clemson gets the dub at home, but I'm not going to discount and disrespect Drake May like that. I do think UNC covers. So give me Clemson by 4. They get to pick the seal it at the end.
So Zan is going to agree with you here. He's taking Clemson to win outright, and then he's going to take UNC to cover that spread. This is one of those spreads where I think the common fan would probably look at this and be surprised that Clemson's favored by 7.5 points. And it is definitely kind of baiting you to take UNC.
The hook.
In fact, yeah,
Hook's big.
I think that UNC is probably going to be a heavily betted team by the public because of that. But I originally was going into this thinking I might actually take Clemson both ways, but I hate this, but I'm gonna take the bait. I'm gonna take the bait. I'm gonna take Clemson to win. Clemson is the better team. I think they will win the game, but I'm gonna take UNC to cover, and I am absolutely not confident in that at all. In fact, I kind of wish I could change my pick right now, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stick with my thoughts. I'm not gonna backtrack here. So very unconfident UNC spread play there, but I think Clemson will win the game. Yeah, there's a lot UNC has to do to get over that emotional win against Duke and then go on the road to face Clemson in Death Valley. Like that's tough. So we'll see. But if UNC does win that game, man, tip of the cap. That's all I gotta say. Tip of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA versus USC. Now, you want to talk about teams trending in the wrong direction? I mean, USC coming off of a loss last week to Oregon. USC no longer ranked, of course, and you have UCLA who completely fumbled the ball, literally and figuratively, against Arizona State last week. Yeah. These two teams definitely not playing their best football towards the end of the season in November here. What do you got? USC is a 5.5-point favorite, but still a rivalry game and still, bragging rights on the line here.
This one's tough because UCLA definitely has the better defense. I mean, granted, who doesn't have a better defense than USC? But of course, USC's got the quarterback advantage because UCLA just does not know who to play there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Trojans both ways because I'm pulling a faith in Caleb Williams move here. And I think regardless of it's Schlee, Moore, Garbers, I think Caleb can overcome his defense and lead this to a touchdown victory.
Zan is going to take USC to win, but he is going to take UCLA to cover that 5.5 points. Interesting.
Okay. Field goal game is what I'm hearing.
See, this is tough because this is a game where I wish you could tell me a piece of information before I pick it.
Of course.
I would like to know who the hell UCLA is starting at quarterback before I pick this game. But
it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, we don't do ourselves any favors by picking these on Sunday night. So, oh well. But
it makes it even more impressive how we do, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. So this may be recency bias here, but I don't know what the hell happened to UCLA last week when you lost to Arizona State. I am not going to bet on that trend to fix itself. I'm taking USC. I was actually fairly impressed by watching USC sort of hang around against Oregon last week. Caleb Williams is still playing his heart out. I think he's good enough to win this game by a touchdown. It's still a rivalry game. USC's in the Coliseum. I'm going to take USC by a touchdown there to win and cover. UNLV versus Air Force. This is a big
Cool.
one for the
Big
Mountain
game.
West, man. Air Force was out to an 8-0 start to the season, and then all of a sudden they've just dropped two stinkers to,
Bad.
yeah,
Bad
two
losses.
bad teams, Army and Hawaii. We're talking about teams, both of those teams are probably not going to go bowling this year, and they've lost to both of them by multiple scores. I don't know what the hell has happened to Air Force, but now they have a conference loss, and now they are tied atop the Mountain West with UNLV with one conference loss each. UNLV has been a crazy pleasant surprise this season. We talked a little bit about them on our recap on the podcast. They're coming off of a pretty big win against Wyoming where they beat them 34-14. And Wyoming's been no pushover this year. So is UNLV legit? Can UNLV legitimately take hold of first place in the Mountain West? And this is a UNLV team that wasn't even projected to come near a bowl game this year. What do you think happens?
They absolutely can, and I think they will. I just think Air Force is trending downwards. This is just an absolute darling of a UNLV team, and I think the woes for Air Force continue. I'm gonna take UNLV to win the game outright,
Ooh, baby.
especially
Yeah,
because Air Force has got these injury issues, the quarterback too. So seeing how substantial those are as well is a big factor as well in my decision here.
it is. And the spread has come down. Air Force is a 3.5 point favorite. I'm thinking there's going to be some line movement here. So UNLV's quarterback, Jaden Maeva, been very solid this year, solid G5 player, decent quarterback for them, for the Rebels. Well, my Shoob numbers, my Shoobalytics say that the wrong team is favored here. And I hate to do this because Air Force was my baby last year. Air Force was my darling in the team draft, but I think the bad times continue, and I think Air Force drops their third straight. Give me UNLV on the road in Colorado Springs to take out the Falcons and take a hold of the Mountain West Championship race, which is really insane if you follow G5 football. All right, back into the
Who'd Zan take?
P5.
Who'd Zan take?
He took Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry if I forgot to mention that. Zan took Air Force both ways, so he's disagreeing with us there. Back into the P5, Kansas State versus Kansas, the Sunflower Showdown. Now, Gonzo, your bold prediction of this being potentially a game that could feature two teams playing for the top spot in the Big 12 on the line, that was a preseason bold prediction. I'll give you credit. It didn't come into fruition, but there is definitely one of the top 4 spots in the Big 12 on the line in this game. So I will give you somewhat
I'll
a
take
credit
it.
there. Yeah, you'll take it. If Kansas hadn't lost, they'd be ranked, and that this would be a ranked matchup, which was one part of your prediction. So that's just kind of bad, unfortunate there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, as far as what happened for these teams on the field last week, you had Kansas State, who has just been destroying teams with Texas notwithstanding, and then you have Kansas, who had Jason being injured against Texas Tech, and not sure about his health status going into this week, but it's a pretty big one. What do you see happening here? Kansas State's a 7.5 point favorite on the road in Lawrence.
Oh, Lawrence can get you if you're not careful. But this Jason Bean news is a big deal. Definitely, like you said earlier, it on one of our other games over UCLA. Wish I had more information on his health status. So, with it in mind, in my mind, that he will not be playing or he'll be limited, I will take K State both ways.
Zan is going to agree with you. He's going to take K-State both ways here. And yeah, again, one of the disadvantages of picking this on Sundays, don't know the status of Jason Bean yet. Not a whole lot has come out about him. I got to play it safe here and assume that he might not play. And even if he was playing, I mean, Kansas State has been rolling, and I think they're going to win this game. I'm going to take them to lay the 7.5 points there and win this game by 8 or more. So Kansas State across the board here. And I think that's the right play with the information that we have. All right, this one is very interesting. Washington at Oregon State. Washington, number 5 in the AP poll. Oregon State, number 10. Big game for the Pac-12 on the line here. Washington with an undefeated 10-0 season. Can they keep it rolling? Can they achieve perfection? It is very hard to do, especially for a program like Washington that doesn't necessarily have the same resources as your Georgias and Alabamas. It is very hard to do. And this might just be the final roadblock in the way of potentially them and a 12-0 regular season. That is the Oregon State Beavers in Corvallis. Oregon State, if they win this game, they control their own destiny to get to the Pac-12 championship, because you know who Oregon State's final two opponents are? They got
Wazoo.
Washington
Not
and they
Wazoo,
got Oregon.
Washington and Oregon. Yep.
They play Washington, they play Oregon back to back. Man, that is a doozy. But if Oregon State, if the Beavers can win both those games, they're going to the Pac-12 championship game by virtue of head-to-head. So can it be done? This is the first leg of the Beavers to the Pac-12 championship parlay that needs to hit. Washington is a 1-point favorite. What do you think is going to happen here?
You got Washington. He's been an offensive buzzsaw. He's had some dicey games on the road. You got an Oregon State team who's very good at home. And you've got a game on November 18th. This just screams spoiler. Let's build that damn baby. I'm taking Oregon State to get the upset.
Wow.
It hurts a little bit, but
I'm sure
it is the blind faith in the Beavs.
Zan is going with Washington. He is going with Washington to win and cover. Well, Gonzo, what did I say last week on the pod about Washington? I said
you said to enjoy it. Well, you may have said that this week, but
I did say that this week.
What
did I say about their upcoming schedule?
Oh, I mean, we had talked about you alluded to that there's a chance they may not go undefeated, and we were wondering who could clip them, and we circled this upcoming game because of, like we said, Corvallis is a tough place to play, and Oregon State is good team, good defense. Yes, that's what I recall.
Yes, and more importantly, I had said those Utah games and the Oregon State game, those were the next two for Washington. I said, I think Washington is going to drop one to one of those two teams because it is just big picture here. It is just so hard to go undefeated in college football.
Yes.
If you do not recruit to Georgia's or Alabama's or Ohio State's level, it is extremely difficult to go 12-0 in college football. Washington is going to drop to Oregon State this weekend. I am going with the Beavs. I am tailing you here. I think Oregon State ruins Washington's perfect season, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for Washington because, as I've said multiple times, and as we all know, they can afford a loss here because they still can get to the Pac-12 championship game because Oregon and Oregon State still got to play each other. The Civil War is in Eugene. So even if they lose to Oregon State, I don't think they have to worry about them because Oregon State still has 2 losses. Washington should be just fine. They got the Apple Cup against Wazoo, who has been terrible. They'll be just fine. They can still play for a Pac-12 championship. And if they beat Oregon for a second time or avenge the loss to Oregon State, potentially in my theoretical scenario in the Pac-12 championship game, they will be in the college football playoff. So yes, I think Washington will lose. This is just that one game that every good team loses. You're going to lose one. This is the one they lose. The one thing that does scare me about this, though, is I think Oregon State's secondary is not the greatest, and Washington can definitely expose that. So I do think there is cause for concern here, but I think Oregon State should be favored in this game, and I'm taking Oregon State. So
big brain move, lose to the Beavs. The Beavs beat Oregon, and then you just smoke them in a neutral site in Vegas to win the Pac-12.
And that would be a good look for Washington because even if you lose to Oregon State, if you get a rematch against them in the Pac-12 championship game theoretically and you beat them, you can still say, hey, we beat everybody on our schedule.
Yes, you can.
You can say you beat everybody on your schedule. Even with a loss, you beat the one team that you lost to, you won the rematch. So, and beating Oregon twice. If they get Oregon, they beat Oregon twice, man. That second win versus Oregon is going to look way more impressive than the first one. That's all we'll say. So
I'll tell you, Shoob, the darn shame is I'm gonna be in the airport and on a plane when this game happens. We got to pray
Mm.
that this JetBlue flight's got TVs, my guy. Um,
Ah, oh yeah,
um,
definitely be tuning in for
just
this one. I cannot wait for this matchup. I think it's gonna be a great game. Regardless, it's gonna be a great game. Very much
yes,
looking
yes, it
forward to
is.
it. All right, last up here, Texas versus Iowa State. Now, I don't know how we got to this point, but we are at a point right now where this game between the Texas Longhorns and the Iowa State Cyclones, the winner of this game will be in first place in the Big 12 Conference when we wake
Incredible.
up on Sunday morning. Texas currently occupies that spot. Iowa State right now is smudged in the middle of that 2-loss, 4-team tie. They have a head-to-head over Oklahoma State. If they beat Texas and they get that 2-1, tiebreaker scenario, whatever, by beating Texas, Iowa State is in first place in the Big 12. I don't tell me how that is possible. I do not know how it's possible. It is crazy. My mind I can't even wrap my mind around it. How Iowa State has done this. Kudos to Matt Campbell, man. Ever since that fan chirped at him and said that he's on a hot seat, like they have been a buzzsaw in Big 12
Yeah,
play. So major kudos there. Anyways, this one is in Ames. Texas has been looking a little shady as of recent weeks, and the Longhorns are an 8-point favorite. Can Iowa State pull off the upset and do what many thought would be literally impossible 2 months ago and be in first place in the Big 12 on Sunday morning?
absolutely can. And for content, it'd be great. But I'm gonna pull the talent card here. I'm gonna hook them both ways. Texas got the athletes, and now that you know that Quinn's going to be your starter, you can kind of go into the week knowing that. And yes, the um you had the injury to Brooks, but like I said Baxter will take care of you. And at the end of the day, it's stars. Texas has more of them, and I don't think they're going to be let down here. I think they're going to win by more than 8.
Zan is in agreement with you. He's going with Texas both ways to win and cover those 8 points. Listen, I think just the fact that Iowa State is in this position should be
Oh,
celebrated.
it's incredible.
I'm gonna have to go with you. I'm gonna have to play the talent disparity card here. It's
Better way to say it. Yes, it's the talent
yes.
disparity.
I
Yep.
I just can't. Even if Iowa State plays a great game, I don't know if they can beat Texas. I would be pleasantly surprised if they do.
I mean, they almost
But
did last year, but that was
it
that's
is
the
this just
Texas.
I don't know, man. Does this seem like I just feel like this seems like a too good to be true type of scenario here. Like are we really gonna be talking about Iowa State in first place in the Big 12?
No,
Iowa State lost to Ohio in week 3. They lost to Ohio.
they're not even the best MAC team, man, like we
No,
thought.
not even close. Ohio is not even the fourth best team in the MAC
Yeah,
right now. They also lost to Iowa. Well, they usually lose to Iowa, but still,
that's just
this is a team that also had like half their starters suspended because of gambling at the beginning of the year. This just seems like, listen, I love it, but it also seems like way too good to be true. So if Iowa State wins this game, we will definitely spend them a lot of time talking about them, but I'm going to go Texas both ways. I just kind of seems like fantasy land that this is even a thing. But I mean,
it's already
I'll
was.
embrace it, man. I'll be pulling for Iowa State. We show our cards here. Like I do not want to see either Red River team play for the Big 12 championship. So we all know that if you listen to this podcast, but we shall see. But I expect Texas is going to win by 10 points or more.
I will
So it'll be
say
interesting.
all the
It is a night
pressures
game.
on Texas. All the pressures on Texas. Iowa State, they got nothing to lose. They weren't supposed to make a bowl game this year,
That is true.
so they should be
That is
loose
true.
as can be.
That is very true. It is a night game too in Ames, so I'll be tuned into that one along with Washington, Oregon State. Have those two games on the TVs at the same time.
Can
Be
you
be another
imagine?
good
Just like you could see some torpedoes get fired. Then you hit 10 o'clock, and that would be something because it's been chalk. I mean, this year has been chalk in general. So that would just be something if in the last 2 weeks some ships started sinking.
Dam breaks. Yeah. I'll be rooting for it. I'll be rooting for some chaos. I think we're gonna get a little bit of it this week. We'll see. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment. Let us know what you guys are picking. Let us know what you guys think about our picks this week. And as always, enjoy your college football Saturday. This is the Saturday Scholars, Gonzo, Shoob, and Zan, who is not here today, signing out. See y'all later. And as always, have a great weekend.